The alarm bells rang through the corridors of Deep Space Station Kepler-7 like the screams of dying metal. Senior Analyst Vextar lifted his scaled head from the sensor console, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. In his 40 years of service to the Zephyrian Galactic Empire, he had never seen readings like these. The massive reptilian being stood nearly 8 feet tall, his blue-green scales gleaming under the harsh lights of the monitoring station. His clawed fingers danced across the holographic displays, checking and rechecking the impossible data that flowed across his screens. Impossible, he hissed through his teeth. The readings showed a vessel moving at 97% the speed of light. No known ship in the galaxy could achieve such speeds. The fastest Imperial dreadnoughts could barely reach 30% light speed, and that was only in short bursts that drained their power cores completely. Vextar called up the long-range scanners, pushing their sensors to maximum range. The object was still decelerating, which meant it had been moving even faster before, much faster. His tail swished nervously behind him as he realized what this meant. Something had been traveling faster than light itself. Monitor Keshla, report to the primary sensor station immediately. Vextar spoke into his communication device. Within moments, a smaller Zephyrian female hurried into the chamber, her green scales darker than his own. "What is the emergency, Senior Analyst?" she asked, her voice carrying the formal tone required when addressing a superior. Vextar pointed to the displays. "Look at these readings and tell me what you see." Keshla studied the data for several minutes, her trained eyes taking in every detail. Her face grew pale beneath her scales. "This cannot be correct. These readings suggest a vessel moving at impossible speeds." "Run a full diagnostic on all sensor arrays," Vextar ordered. "Check every system twice. I want to be certain these readings are accurate before we report to Imperial Command." For the next 2 hours, the station's crew worked frantically to verify their instruments. Every test came back the same. The sensors were working perfectly. The readings were real. The unknown vessel had slowed to 50% light speed and was still decelerating. More disturbing than its speed was what the sensors could not detect. The ship showed no energy signature that matched any known propulsion system in the Imperial databases. No fusion drives, no antimatter engines, no gravitational manipulators. Nothing. Vextar brought up the Empire's vast catalog of known spacecraft designs. The database contained information on every ship built by the 847 spacefaring species within Imperial space. He ran the unknown vessel's profile through the recognition systems. No match found. He expanded the search to include ships from the outer territories beyond Imperial control. Still nothing. The vessel's design followed no known architectural principles. Its hull appeared smooth and curved, lacking the angular designs favored by most galactic civilizations. "Senior Analyst," Keshla called from her station, "I am detecting something else unusual about this vessel." "What now?" Vextar moved to her console. "According to our calculations, a ship moving at these speeds should be experiencing severe time dilation effects. The crew aboard should be aging much slower relative to normal space. But the temporal readings from this vessel show no dilation at all." Vextar felt his blood run cold. Time dilation was one of the fundamental laws of physics. Nothing could ignore it. Nothing except, "It is as if the ship is not actually moving through space at those speeds," Keshla continued. "As if space itself is moving around the ship instead." The implications hit Vextar like a physical blow. If these beings had mastered space-time manipulation, they possessed technology far beyond anything the Empire had ever encountered. Such technology was purely theoretical, discussed only in the most advanced physics journals. "Send an immediate priority message to Imperial Command," Vextar ordered. "Mark it as a Class 1 contact situation." Keshla's eyes widened. Class 1 contact meant first contact with a completely unknown species. It had not happened in over 3,000 years. "Are you certain, Senior Analyst?" "Send the message. Include all sensor data and our analysis. Let the Admiralty decide what action to take." The message was transmitted using the Empire's fastest quantum communication systems. Within an hour, a response came back. Admiral Corthon himself would be dispatching the Imperial Dreadnought Sovereigns. Will to intercept the unknown. Vessel Vextar had served under Admiral Corthon during the Outer Rim conflicts 20 years ago. The Admiral was known for his aggressive tactics and absolute confidence in Imperial superiority. If any primitive species thought they could challenge the Empire, they would quickly learn their mistake. The Sovereign's Will was one of the Empire's most powerful warships, 3 kilometers long and bristling with weapons. It carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Its crew of 10,000 represented the best the Imperial Navy had to offer. As Vextar watched the sensor readings, the unknown vessel continued to slow down. It was now moving at only 10% light speed, still faster than most ships could manage, but at least within the realm of possibility. Senior Analyst Keshla reported, "The vessel has changed course. It is now heading directly toward Imperial space." "Toward which system?" "Current trajectory suggests they are aiming for the Altair sector. That would put them on a direct path to Zephyr Prime itself." Vextar's tail went rigid. Zephyr Prime was the capital world of the Empire, home to Emperor Zarthus and the seat of imperial power. If these unknown beings were planning an attack on the capital, they had chosen their target well. But why would they approach so openly? Any invasion force would try to remain hidden until the last possible moment. These beings seemed to be announcing their presence to anyone with sensor equipment. "Monitor their approach vector," Vextar commanded. "I want constant updates on their speed and direction. If they change course by even 1 degree, I want to know immediately." Over the next several hours, the unknown vessel maintained its steady approach toward Imperial space. It showed no signs of hostile intent, no weapons charging, no shields raised. It simply moved forward at a constant speed, as if taking a leisurely cruise through space. The Sovereign's Will arrived at the intercept coordinates 12 hours later. Admiral Corthon immediately took command of the situation, ordering his ships into a standard first contact formation. The Imperial fleet spread out in a show of force, their weapons powered but not targeted. Vextar monitored the encounter from his station, listening to the communications between the Admiral and the unknown vessel. The Imperial fleet had been waiting at the intercept point for 6 hours when the unknown ship finally arrived. When it appeared on the main viewer, even Vextar gasped in surprise. The vessel was much smaller than expected, only 200 meters in length. Compared to the massive Imperial dreadnoughts, it looked like a small pleasure craft. Yet this tiny ship had crossed the galaxy at impossible speeds. Its hull gleamed like polished metal, reflecting the light of nearby stars. The design was elegant and smooth, with curves that seemed to flow naturally from bow to stern. It looked more like a work of art than a spaceship. Admiral Corthon opened communication channels and began broadcasting the standard first contact protocols. The unknown vessel did not respond to any of the Empire's standard frequencies. For several tense minutes, silence filled the void between the ships. Then finally a response came. It was transmitted on a frequency the Empire rarely used, one reserved for mathematical communications with primitive species. The message was simple but clear. "This is the Earth vessel Defiance. We seek audience with your governmental authority." Vextar had never heard of a planet called Earth. He quickly searched the Imperial databases but found no record of any world by that name. These beings claimed to come from a place that did not exist in any known star charts. The galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. Admiral Corthon stood on the bridge of the Sovereign's Will, his massive frame casting a shadow across the command center. The Zephyrian military leader was over 9 feet tall, his dark blue scales marked with the scars of countless battles. His yellow eyes stared at the small vessel that hung motionless in space before his fleet. "Earth vessel Defiance," he spoke into the communication system, his voice carrying the authority of the Imperial Navy. "I am Admiral Corthon of the Zephyrian Empire. You have entered Imperial space without permission. State your intentions immediately." The response came back in perfect Galactic Standard, the common language used throughout the Empire. The voice was calm and measured, showing no fear despite being outnumbered by heavily armed warships. "Admiral Corthon, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Defiance. We come in peace and request safe passage to your capital world. We wish to establish diplomatic relations between our peoples." Corthon's tail lashed behind him in irritation. These beings spoke as if they were equals to the Empire. Did they not understand that they were facing the most powerful military force in the galaxy? "Unknown vessel, you will submit to boarding and inspection. Our records show no knowledge of your species or your world. Until your identity can be verified, you will be treated as a potential threat. Admiral, we respectfully decline inspection of our vessel. However, we would be happy to meet with your representatives on neutral ground. We can provide proof of our peaceful intentions through other means." The bridge crew exchanged glances. No one had ever refused an Imperial boarding order. Such defiance was usually met with immediate force. But something about this situation made Korthon hesitate. Captain Chen, you are in no position to make demands. You are one small ship facing an entire battle fleet. Surrender now and you will be treated according to Imperial law. Admiral, I believe there may be some misunderstanding. We are not surrendering because we are not at war. We simply wish to speak with your government about establishing peaceful relations between our species. Korthon turned to his science officer. Can our scanners penetrate their hull? The younger Zephyrian shook his head. No, Admiral. Their hull composition is unknown to our databases. Our sensors cannot penetrate it at all. It is as if the ship is invisible to our scanning equipment. This was becoming more troublesome by the moment. The Empire's sensors could scan through the hulls of any known ship design. Yet this small vessel remained completely opaque to their instruments. Captain Chen, Korthon said, you claim to come in peace, yet your ship is shielded from our sensors. How are we to verify your intentions if we cannot examine your vessel? Admiral, our ship's hull is constructed from materials that naturally block most scanning attempts. This is for our protection, not as a sign of aggression. If you wish proof of our peaceful nature, we can demonstrate our weapons are not active. Before Korthon could respond, his tactical officer called out an alarm. Admiral, the unknown vessel is powering something up. Every weapon on the Imperial fleet immediately targeted the small ship. Korthon was about to give the order to fire when his sensors showed something impossible. The human ship was not charging weapons. Instead, it was broadcasting detailed schematics of its own defensive systems. As you can see, Captain Chen's voice came over the communication channel. Our ship carries no offensive weapons. We have defensive systems only, designed to protect us during long voyages through space. Korthon stared at the technical readouts flowing across his screens. The defensive systems shown were far beyond anything the Empire had developed. Energy shields that could deflect particle beams, hull plating that could absorb direct hits from antimatter weapons, and something called adaptive armor that could repair itself. Where did you acquire this technology? Korthon demanded. We developed it ourselves, Admiral. Our species has been traveling through space for several centuries now. We have learned much during our journeys. Several centuries. Korthon almost laughed at the statement. The Empire had been spacefaring for 50,000 years. What could these newcomers possibly know that the Empire did not? Captain Chen, our records show no evidence of your species ever making contact with any civilized world. If you have been traveling for centuries, where have you been? Admiral, space is very large. We have been exploring regions far from your territory. Only recently did we become aware of your Empire's existence. That is why we have come to make contact. This answer troubled Korthon more than open hostility would have. If these humans had been traveling for centuries without the Empire's knowledge, it meant Imperial intelligence had massive gaps in its coverage of the galaxy. Very well. Captain Chen, according to Imperial protocol for first contact situations, I will escort you to Zephyr Prime for an audience with our government. However, your ship will remain under guard at all times. We appreciate your courtesy, Admiral. We are ready to depart when you are. Korthon signaled his fleet to form an escort formation around the human ship. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, he wondered what Emperor Zarthus would make of these strange beings. The journey to Zephyr Prime normally took 3 days at maximum hyperspace speed. The Imperial fleet engaged their drives and disappeared into the swirling vortex of hyperspace. To Korthon's surprise, the small human ship kept pace effortlessly. During the journey, Captain Chen opened regular communication channels with the Imperial fleet. She seemed genuinely interested in learning about Zephyrian culture and history. Her questions were intelligent and showed deep understanding of galactic politics. Tell me, Admiral, she said during one conversation, how long has your Empire controlled this region of space? The Empire has brought order to this galaxy for over 50,000 years. Korthon replied with pride. We have united hundreds of species under Imperial law. Fascinating. And how do you maintain control over such a vast territory? The question seemed innocent enough, but something about it made Korthon uncomfortable. Through superior technology and military strength. The Empire protects all citizens from the chaos that existed before unification. I see. And what happens to species that prefer to remain independent? Korthon paused before answering. All civilized species eventually recognize the benefits of Imperial membership. Those who resist usually reconsider once they understand the alternative. The alternative being military conquest. The alternative being the protection and prosperity that only the Empire can provide. Captain Chen was quiet for a moment. Admiral, may I ask how your people first achieved spaceflight? The Zephyrians developed space travel through centuries of careful research and development. We built our technology step by step, improving our ships and weapons until we could travel between stars. And how long did that process take? Nearly 5,000 years from our first orbital flights to our first interstellar journeys. 5,000 years, Captain Chen repeated. That shows remarkable dedication and patience. Something in her tone made Korthon suspicious. And how long did it take your species to achieve interstellar travel? About 400 years from first flight to faster-than-light travel. Korthon nearly choked on his response. 400 years? That was impossible. Even the most advanced species in Imperial records had taken at least 2,000 years to develop interstellar capabilities. That seems remarkably fast, he managed to say. We had some advantages, Captain Chen replied. Our species tends to share knowledge freely and build upon each other's discoveries. We also had some fortunate breakthroughs in theoretical physics. As the conversation continued, Korthon began to realize that these humans might be more dangerous than he had initially thought, not because they were hostile, but because they represented something the Empire had never encountered before, a species that might actually be more advanced than the Zephyrians themselves. When the fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Zephyr Prime, Korthon watched the human ship carefully. The small vessel showed no reaction to the sight of the Empire's capital world, with its massive orbital stations and countless ships. Captain Chen simply acknowledged their arrival and requested landing coordinates. As they approached the planet, Korthon realized that the galaxy was about to change forever. Whether that change would be peaceful or catastrophic remained to be seen. The journey through hyperspace revealed more about the mysterious humans than Admiral Korthon had expected. As the Imperial fleet traveled toward Zephyr Prime, the small Earth vessel maintained perfect formation with ships 50 times its size. More troubling was how effortlessly it kept pace with the Empire's fastest dreadnoughts. Chief Engineer Vothak approached the Admiral with a datapad in his clawed hands. The elderly Zephyrian scales had faded to a pale green with age, but his mind remained sharp as ever. Admiral, I have been monitoring the human vessel's performance during our hyperspace transit, Vothak reported. The readings are disturbing. Explain, Korthon ordered. Their ship shows no signs of strain from maintaining our speed. Our own engines are operating at 80% capacity, yet their vessel appears to be barely working at all. If I did not know better, I would say they are capable of much greater speeds than they are currently demonstrating. Korthon studied the engineering reports. The Sovereign's will was pushing its engines hard to maintain their current pace. The human ship's energy output remained steady and low throughout the journey. Have you been able to determine anything about their propulsion system? That is the most disturbing part, Admiral. I cannot detect any conventional propulsion signatures at all. No antimatter reactions, no fusion drives, no gravitational field manipulation. According to our instruments, they should not be moving at all. During their second day of travel, Captain Chen requested permission to speak with the Imperial Fleet's scientists. Admiral Korthon was curious about what these humans might reveal, so he agreed to the exchange. The conversation took place over the fleet's general communication channel, allowing all Imperial personnel to listen. Dr. Marcus Webb, the human ship's science officer, spoke with enthusiasm about their journey across the galaxy. We have been traveling for nearly 6 months to reach this region of space, Dr. Webb explained. The distances involved are truly incredible. Your empire covers an impressive portion of the galaxy. Chief Science Officer Nathara, a female Zephyrian with bright yellow scales, responded with professional curiosity. 6 months to cross interstellar distances? That suggests your faster-than-light capabilities are quite advanced. Oh, we do not actually travel faster than light, Dr. Webb replied casually. That would violate several fundamental laws of physics. Instead, we compress space in front of our ship and expand it behind us. The ship itself never exceeds light speed, but the space around it moves much faster. The bridge fell silent. Nathara's voice trembled slightly when she responded. You are describing theoretical space-time manipulation. Such technology exists only in our most advanced physics journals. Really? We developed our first working Alcubierre drive about 50 years ago. The early models were quite inefficient, but we have made significant improvements since then. Admiral Corthon felt his blood run cold. Alcubierre drives were pure theory. The Empire's best scientists had proven they were impossible to build with any known technology. Dr. Webb, Nethera continued, the energy requirements for space-time manipulation should be enormous. How do you power such systems? We use controlled fusion reactions, similar to your star's natural processes. Our reactors are quite compact and efficient. Would you like me to explain the basic principles? For the next hour, Dr. Webb described fusion technology that surpassed anything in the Imperial arsenal. He spoke of reactors no larger than a cargo container that could power entire cities. He mentioned energy conversion rates that Imperial engineers had thought impossible. Chief Engineer Vothak listened to every word with growing alarm. After the conversation ended, he immediately requested a private meeting with Admiral Corthon. Admiral, if what that human scientist described is accurate, their technology is centuries ahead of our own, Vothak said. Their fusion reactors alone could revolutionize our entire civilization. Are you certain they are telling the truth? The technical details they provided are consistent and logical. I see no signs of deception. More importantly, their ship's performance supports their claims. That evening, Captain Chen initiated another conversation with the Imperial fleet. This time she seemed interested in learning about Zephyrian history and culture. Admiral, I hope you do not mind my curiosity, but I am fascinated by how your empire developed over time. Building a civilization that spans multiple star systems must have required incredible coordination. Corthon found himself oddly pleased by her interest. The empire grew through careful expansion and diplomatic integration. We offered protection and prosperity to species willing to join us voluntarily. And those who were not willing, sometimes force became necessary for the greater good. But we always gave species the opportunity to join peacefully first. I see. And how do you maintain communication across such vast distances? The speed of light must create significant delays. We use quantum entanglement communication systems for important messages. Instantaneous communication across any distance. Quantum entanglement, Captain Chen repeated thoughtfully. We experimented with that technology early in our space program. We found it useful for certain applications, though we eventually developed better alternatives. Admiral Corthon almost dropped his communication device. Quantum entanglement communication was the Empire's most advanced technology. It had taken thousands of years to develop and was considered the pinnacle of scientific achievement. Better alternatives? He managed to ask. We discovered methods for creating stable subspace channels that can carry much larger amounts of data. Quantum entanglement is limited to simple binary transmissions, but subspace allows for complete information transfer. The communication ended, leaving Corthon staring at his bridge crew in stunned silence. These humans spoke of the Empire's greatest technological achievements as if they were primitive toys. On the third day of their journey, the human ship demonstrated capabilities that defied belief. When the Imperial fleet encountered a small asteroid field, the massive dreadnoughts were forced to carefully navigate around the larger rocks. The human vessel simply flew straight through the field. Asteroids that should have destroyed the small ship seemed to pass right through it without causing any damage. How are they doing that? Corthon demanded. Chief Science Officer Nethera studied her instruments frantically. Admiral, I believe they are phasing their ship slightly out of normal space-time. The asteroids cannot impact something that is not entirely present in our dimensional framework. That is impossible. Yes, Admiral. According to all known physics, it should be completely impossible. As they approached Zephyr Prime, Admiral Corthon realized he was escorting beings whose technology made the Empire look primitive by comparison. These humans had mastered sciences that Zephyrian researchers considered purely theoretical. The human ship's casual demonstrations of impossible technology were not meant to intimidate. Captain Chen and her crew seemed genuinely unaware of how advanced their capabilities appeared to Imperial observers. They spoke of their achievements with the matter-of-fact tone of people discussing routine procedures. When Zephyr Prime appeared on their view screens, Captain Chen's only comment was professional appreciation for the planet's orbital defense networks. She showed no signs of being impressed by the massive space stations or the thousands of ships that protected the Imperial capital. Admiral, we are ready to meet with your government representatives at your convenience. She transmitted as they entered orbit around Zephyr Prime. Admiral Corthon looked at the small ship that had traveled impossible distances at impossible speeds using impossible technology. In 3 days, everything he believed about Imperial superiority had been shattered. Captain Chen, you will be granted an audience with Emperor Zarthus himself. I trust you understand the honor being shown to your people. We are grateful for your courtesy, Admiral. We look forward to productive discussions between our civilizations. As the human ship descended toward the planetary surface, Corthon wondered what Emperor Zarthus would think when he learned that the Empire was no longer the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Zephyr Prime stretched endlessly in all directions, a world city of gleaming towers and floating platforms that reached toward the clouds. The Imperial capital was home to over 50 billion beings, representing hundreds of species from across the galaxy. Massive transport tubes carried citizens between the towering spires, while aircraft filled the skies in carefully controlled patterns. Emperor Zarthus stood in his private chamber overlooking the greatest city in the galaxy. The ancient ruler was nearly 12 feet tall, his silver scales marking him as one of the oldest living Zephyrians. He had ruled the Empire for over 800 years, guiding it through wars, expansion, and periods of peace. Your Majesty, Chancellor Vexthal entered the chamber with his head bowed respectfully. The younger Zephyrian carried data pads containing reports from Admiral Corthon. The human delegation has arrived. They are being escorted to the Imperial Palace as we speak. Emperor Zarthus turned from the window, his ancient eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom and power. What do our intelligence services tell us about these beings? Very little, Your Majesty. They claim to come from a world called Earth, but no such planet exists in our records. Their ship demonstrates technology that our scientists cannot explain. Admiral Corthon believes they may pose a significant threat to Imperial security. The Emperor moved to his throne, a massive seat carved from a single piece of crystalline material that had been mined from the Empire's first conquered world. The throne room itself was a testament to Imperial power, with walls reaching hundreds of feet high and decorated with trophies from 1,000 conquered civilizations. A threat? Emperor Zarthus settled onto his throne. One small ship threatens an empire of 1 trillion souls? According to the Admiral's reports, their technology is far more advanced than our own. They speak casually of scientific achievements that our best researchers consider impossible. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. In 8 centuries of rule, he had encountered many species that claimed superior knowledge. All had eventually bowed before Imperial might. Bring them before me. Let us see what these humans have to say for themselves. The throne room filled with Imperial guards and court officials as preparations were made for the audience. The Emperor activated the room's defensive systems, surrounding his throne with energy shields and gravity manipulation fields that could crush any attacker instantly. When the massive doors opened, 3 figures walked into the throne room. They moved with calm confidence, showing no signs of being intimidated by the overwhelming display of Imperial power. The humans were much smaller than most species in the Empire, barely 6 feet tall, but they carried themselves with quiet dignity. Captain Sarah Chen led the delegation, wearing a simple uniform that bore no resemblance to any military dress code in Imperial records. Dr. Marcus Webb walked beside her, carrying a small device that he observed with scientific interest. The third human, introduced as Ambassador Lisa Torres, carried what appeared to be diplomatic credentials. Approach the throne, Chancellor Vexthal commanded in the formal tone reserved for Imperial audiences. The humans walked forward without hesitation, stopping at the respectful distance required by Imperial protocol. Captain Chen stepped forward and bowed slightly, a gesture that showed respect without submission. Your Imperial Majesty, she said in perfect galactic standard, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Defiance. We are honored by this audience and grateful for your hospitality. Emperor Zarthus studied the humans carefully. They showed no fear, despite being surrounded by guards who could kill them in seconds. Their technology had impressed Admiral Corthon, but they appeared to be fragile beings who could not possibly threaten the Empire. Captain Chen, you claim to represent a species unknown to Imperial records. You speak of a world that does not appear in our star charts. Explain yourselves. Your Majesty, we come from a region of space that lies beyond your current territory. Our world, Earth, is located approximately 26,000 light-years from here. We have been aware of your empire for some time, but chose to make contact only recently. You have been aware of us? The Emperor's voice carried a hint of displeasure. Our intelligence network spanned the entire galaxy. How could an entire civilization remain hidden from Imperial knowledge? Dr. Webb stepped forward with permission from Captain Chen. Your Majesty, space is incredibly vast. Our civilizations developed in regions that had little contact with each other. We became aware of your empire through long-range observations and decided that formal contact would benefit both our peoples. And what makes you believe your people have anything to offer the empire? Ambassador Torres spoke for the first time. Your Majesty, we come seeking mutual cooperation and trade. Our species has developed certain technologies that might interest your scientists, while your empire's vast knowledge and experience could benefit our own development. Emperor Zarthus leaned back in his throne. These humans spoke as if they were equals to the empire. Such presumption would normally result in immediate punishment, but something about their calm confidence made him curious. You speak of technologies that might interest Imperial scientists. Our civilization has achieved mastery over matter and energy. Our ships span the galaxy, and our weapons can destroy entire worlds. What could a primitive species possibly offer us? Captain Chen exchanged glances with her companions. Your Majesty, perhaps we could demonstrate some of our capabilities rather than simply describing them. Very well. Show us what your people have achieved. Dr. Webb activated the small device he had been carrying. Immediately, every piece of Imperial technology in the throne room began displaying information. The defensive shields showed their energy patterns. The gravity manipulators revealed their operating frequencies, and even the Emperor's personal communication systems displayed their security codes. What is this? Emperor Zarthus rose from his throne, his voice echoing through the chamber. Your Majesty, this is a passive scanning device, Dr. Webb explained calmly. It allows us to understand and interface with unknown technology. We have been analyzing your system since our arrival, but we wanted your permission before demonstrating our capabilities. The Imperial guards raised their weapons, but Captain Chen remained perfectly calm. We mean no harm, Your Majesty. We simply wanted to show that our technology operates on different principles than your own. Chancellor Vexthal stepped forward, his voice trembling with shock. Your Majesty, they have accessed our most secure systems without triggering any alarms. Our defenses did not even detect their intrusion. Emperor Zarthus stared at the display showing his own technology being analyzed by alien devices. No species had ever demonstrated such capability. Even the most advanced civilizations in the Empire required years of study to understand Imperial technology. Turn off your device, the Emperor commanded. Dr. Webb deactivated the scanner, and the Imperial systems returned to normal operation. The throne room fell silent except for the humming of machinery and the breathing of shocked officials. How long have you been analyzing our technology? The Emperor asked. Since our ship first encountered your fleet, Your Majesty, Captain Chen replied honestly. We always study new civilizations we encounter. It helps us understand how to communicate and interact safely. And what have you learned about the Empire? Ambassador Torres answered carefully. We have learned that your civilization values order and stability. Your technology is robust and reliable, built to last for centuries. Your people have achieved remarkable unity across multiple species and star systems. The Emperor appreciated the diplomatic response, but he wanted to know more about these beings' true capabilities. Captain Chen, your ship traveled here at speeds that should be impossible. Your technology interfaces with ours in ways our best scientists cannot explain. What do your people truly want from the Empire? Your Majesty, we want what all civilized species should want: peaceful coexistence and mutual prosperity. We have encountered other spacefaring civilizations during our travels, some friendly and some hostile. We prefer cooperation to conflict. And if the Empire chose conflict instead of cooperation? The three humans exchanged glances before Captain Chen answered. Your Majesty, we would defend ourselves if necessary, but we would prefer to find peaceful solutions. War benefits no one and destroys the very things that make civilization worthwhile. Emperor Zarthus studied the humans for several long moments. Their technology clearly surpassed Imperial achievements, yet they spoke of peace and cooperation rather than conquest. Either they were the most sophisticated liars he had ever encountered, or they represented something entirely new in his experience. You will remain as our guests while the Imperial Council considers your proposal, the Emperor decided. We will provide quarters appropriate to your status as diplomatic representatives. We are grateful for your hospitality. Your Majesty, Captain Chen replied. As the humans were escorted from the throne room, Emperor Zarthus remained seated on his throne, deep in thought. For the first time in 8 centuries, he faced a situation that challenged everything he believed about imperial supremacy. The galaxy was about to become a very different place. The Imperial Council chamber had not seen such tension in over 2,000 years. 50 of the Empire's most powerful leaders sat around the massive circular table, their scales reflecting the harsh lighting as they debated the fate of 2 civilizations. Emperor Zarthus presided over the emergency session from his elevated throne. For 3 days, the Council had analyzed every piece of data about the human visitors. The conclusions were disturbing. The evidence is undeniable, Chief Science Advisor Catherine announced to the assembled leaders. These humans possess technology that surpasses our own in every measurable category. Their ship's capabilities alone represent advances we have not achieved in 50,000 years of development. Defense Minister Vorth An, a massive Zephyrian with battle scars covering his dark scales, slammed his fist on the table. Technology means nothing without the will to use it. They are only 3 beings on a single ship. The Empire commands fleets that could darken the skies of 1,000 worlds. Minister, Admiral Korthon spoke from his position at the table. I have observed their vessel firsthand. It casually demonstrates abilities that our entire fleet cannot match. If this single ship represents their standard technology, we must consider the implications carefully. Economic Advisor Zethalara, one of the few female voices on the Council, leaned forward. The question is not whether we can defeat them in battle. The question is whether we can afford to try. If their technology is as advanced as our analysis suggests, they could offer us scientific breakthroughs worth more than a dozen conquered worlds. Emperor Zarthus listened to the debate while considering information that only he possessed. His private intelligence network had attempted to gather data about these humans during their stay on Zephyr Prime. The results were troubling. Every attempt to secretly scan their quarters had failed. The humans seemed to anticipate surveillance efforts and politely redirected them without causing offense. They moved through the Imperial Palace with confidence, as if they could defend themselves against any threat. More disturbing were the casual conversations his agents had overheard. The humans spoke of their home world as if it were one of many colonies. They mentioned other ships exploring different regions of the galaxy. Captain Chen had referred to their mission as First Contact Protocols, suggesting they had encountered other alien civilizations before. Your Majesty. Chancellor Vexthal approached the throne with a communication device. Captain Chen is requesting a final audience before their departure. She says she has important information to share with the Council. The Emperor gestured for the humans to be brought before the assembly. When Captain Chen, Dr. Webb, and Ambassador Torres entered the chamber, every Council member studied them with new understanding. These small beings might represent the most significant threat or opportunity the Empire had ever encountered. Your Imperial Majesty, honored Council members, Captain Chen began, we are grateful for your hospitality during our stay. Before we depart, we wanted to clarify certain misconceptions about our purpose here. Speak freely, the Emperor commanded. Dr. Webb stepped forward, his scientific enthusiasm evident despite the formal setting. Council members, during our time here, we have observed great achievements in your civilization. Your unity across multiple species is remarkable. Your cities represent engineering marvels that few civilizations could match. But, Defense Minister Vorthan prompted suspiciously, but we have also noticed certain limitations in your technological development. Dr. Webb continued diplomatically. Your focus on expanding territory and maintaining control has directed resources away from basic scientific research. Chief Science Advisor Kethran bristled at the implied criticism. Our technology has conquered the galaxy. What greater achievement could science offer? Ambassador Torres answered carefully. Honored advisor, conquest is certainly one application of technology, but science offers many other possibilities. Medical advances that could extend life indefinitely. Energy systems that could provide unlimited power without environmental damage. Transportation methods that could make the galaxy seem as small as a single world. And you possess such technologies? Economic Advisor Zethlar asked. Captain Chen nodded. Some of them, yes. Others we are still developing. But we have learned that scientific progress accelerates when civilizations share knowledge rather than hoarding it. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. These humans were not just technologically advanced. They represented an entirely different approach to civilization itself. Emperor Zarthis spoke into the silence. Captain Chen, you have demonstrated capabilities that exceed our own. You could easily have conquered our worlds or demanded tribute. Instead, you offer cooperation. Why? Your Majesty, we learned long ago that conquest is temporary, but cooperation creates lasting prosperity. We have encountered civilizations that chose the path of domination. Most of them eventually destroyed themselves fighting over resources that could have been shared. And those that refused to cooperate with your people? Captain Chen's expression grew sad. We defended ourselves when necessary, Your Majesty, but we always offered peaceful alternatives first. Violence should be the last resort, not the first. Defense Minister Vorthan leaned forward aggressively. And if the Empire chooses to test your defenses? What then? Dr. Webb answered with scientific precision. Minister, our ship could leave this system at speeds your fleet cannot match. We could return with vessels designed for combat rather than exploration, but such actions would benefit no one and waste resources that could be used for better purposes. The casual confidence in his voice sent chills through the council chamber. These beings spoke of their military capabilities the same way they discussed their scientific achievements, as simple facts rather than threats. Emperor Zarthis made his decision. 8 centuries of ruling had taught him to recognize when adaptation was necessary for survival. Captain Chen, the Empire accepts your offer of peaceful cooperation. We propose a formal treaty recognizing your people's sovereignty and establishing trade relations between our civilizations. Several council members gasped in shock. Defense Minister Vorthan started to object, but the Emperor silenced him with a gesture. However, the Emperor continued, I have one question that troubles me. You speak of cooperation and peace, yet your technology could easily dominate any civilization you encounter. How can we trust beings with such power? Captain Chen smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. Your Majesty, that is exactly the right question to ask. The answer is simple. Power without restraint destroys everything it touches. We have seen civilizations rise and fall because they could not control their own strength. We learned to limit ourselves before we learned to travel the stars, Ambassador Torres added. We developed ethics before we developed weapons. We chose cooperation before we achieved the power to enforce domination. Dr. Webb concluded their explanation. Your Majesty, we offer you our friendship not because we must, but because we choose to. That choice makes all the difference. As the human delegation prepared to depart, Emperor Zarthis reflected on the changes coming to his empire. For 50,000 years, the Zephyrians had been the dominant force in the galaxy. Now they would need to learn a new role as partners rather than rulers. The Earth vessel Defiance lifted off from Zephyr Prime under the escort of Admiral Korthan's fleet. As it reached orbit, Captain Chen transmitted a final message to the Imperial Palace. Your Majesty, we look forward to a long and prosperous relationship between our peoples. Our next ship will arrive in 6 months with scientific liaisons and trade representatives. Until then, may your empire know peace and prosperity. The small ship accelerated beyond the Imperial fleet's ability to follow, disappearing into the depths of space at impossible speeds. Emperor Zarthis watched from his palace windows as the vessel became a distant star, then vanished entirely. Across the galaxy, other human ships were making contact with different civilizations. The age of human expansion had begun, but it was unlike any expansion the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of conquest and domination, the humans offered cooperation and mutual benefit. Some civilizations would accept their offers. Others would choose conflict. But the galaxy would never be the same again. For the first time in galactic history, the most powerful species was also the most peaceful. The future belonged to those wise enough to choose cooperation over conquest. Emperor Zarthis hoped his empire would be among them.